K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
All right, folks, well, it's Monday evening. That's right, we survived another one. It is just a couple of minutes past the hour of 6 right here in beautiful downtown Oklahoma City, and this is, of course, America Off the Rails. I am your host, Rick Robinson. Going to give a quick shout-out to the affiliates and a little bit of a rundown. So, AMFM247.com, how you folks doing out there? We got High Point Radio, high atop New Jersey. I think it's Quahog, if I remember right. Then, of course, we have the Spark Radio Network, Red State Talk Radio, K98 Talk, of course, in both varieties.com or .org. If you enjoy autoplay, I recommend .org that way. If you're clicking on one of those links, it's just like turning on your radio. And then, of course, we have a few others for the moment. For some reason, they are escaping me. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, pay a couple more bills, and when we come back, after you hear the usual intro, we do have Jared Day and Darla Dawald on to discuss grassroots campaigns and you, why certain elections should matter to you no matter where you are, and how you can get involved to help make a difference and hopefully bring back America, because at this point, if something doesn't change soon, we may not be around much longer. Can I just be honest with you about that? All right, so at this point, we are going to pay a couple bills. We'll be right back here in just a couple seconds. All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business, and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting security enforcement specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. And again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
The wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the
Hey folks, Slickery Trigger here. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Rebel Road Tactical. As a defensive pistol instructor, I've had the opportunity to observe many different holster designs and configurations. And one thing is clear. Many of my students won't carry a pistol. Or worse, they'll carry one without a holster at all. Holster designers aren't making holsters for normal people. It seems that most holsters are either an expensive piece of gear designed for Rambo or a piece that doesn't fit or function the way real people need it to fit and function. So, like any good Texan, I decided to learn to form kydex and design one myself, one that would fit the needs of average people. The result is the Rebel Road Tactical CRT Modular. The CRT stands for Carry, Range, and Training. Its thin and lightweight curved design minimizes printing and is adjustable to fit just right for superior comfort and function. Check us out after the show at rebelroadconcealed.blogspot.com.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect just to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those on the take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks. Well, of course, this is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. And before I forget, 2 major things. First of all, we broke 75,000 plays today on the station's podcast site. So I want to thank everybody for clicking those download links and everything else. It means a lot that so many of you are starting to tune in and listen. Also, at some point, probably today, this show itself will break 10,000 plays, podcast and live. So thank you all very much for that. Now, without further ado, I do have Miss Darla Dawald and Jared Day here to discuss grassroots campaigns. And one of the biggest things and the biggest problems America is facing right now is trying to get rid of some of these rhinos. So let's talk about that for a little bit. How are you guys doing today?
How you doing, Rich?
I am doing all right. Actually, I wound up having to give up and go to the doctor last week. Turns out I had a severe double ear infection. So now that I've gotten a couple of dozen shots and 4 doses of steroids and gone all the way through an antibiotic series, I actually feel pretty good right now. We'll see how I feel in a few days.
Earaches are the worst.
All right, so Darla, for anybody who missed it, she was actually just with us a couple of weeks ago. We were supposed to do this last Monday, but of course my internet hated me last Monday, so we couldn't make that happen. But just in case we've got folks tuning in for the first time again, why don't you go ahead and give them a little bit of a rundown of who you are, what you've been up to, and how you got started.
Sure thing. I was just an average American, like most people out there, doing my own thing and paying attention to paying my bills and running my business. And back in 2008, I started getting a little upset with what I was hearing our government was doing at bailing out car companies and bailing out banks and helping these big corporations. And I was very disenchanted with that. I didn't think that was a very good way that they should be spending my tax dollars. And meanwhile, my business was in the tank because of the economy. So I had to close my business. I got involved on the internet with a organization called Grassfire.com, and they ended up starting another organization that was basically a grassroots, get all the people together and start talking and working together. And so we started an organization called ResistNet.com, and from there, I ended up being national director. I've traveled the country numerous times with the Tea Party Express. I've spoken at over 200 rallies. I was one of the 3 national coordinators for the March on D.C. we had on 9/12/2009, and I also spoke at that event. It was amazing event. That the news media said there were 65,000 in attendance, but there was actually about 2 million. And I've been on Neil Cavuto a few times, and I've spoken at other major rallies in D.C. when we tried to keep them from passing Obamacare. And when the whole audit the IRS came up, of course, my tagline at that point that got a lot of attention was, I'm not here to talk about auditing the IRS. I'm here to talk about abolishing the IRS. And so from there, I ended up deciding last year to run my own campaign, and I became a candidate, and I ran for state representative in my area in Arizona, and I lost by a small margin. But I learned so much about the process. I learned about the areas that we really need grassroots assistance and what the challenges are that these candidates are facing. And I was a strong conservative candidate running against 2 rhinos in my own party for the primary, and I know exactly how difficult it is to accomplish such a task, such a feat. So this year I was going to run. I had filed and was in about 2 weeks, and I decided that I needed to do something bigger than that, and that I could make a bigger impact by helping someone else in their campaign and putting my own desires of running as an individual myself aside. And so I decided to join Dr. Kelly Ward, and she is currently a sitting state senator, but she's running for U.S. Senate against the infamous John McCain. And so I said, you know what? There's no better place that I can spend my time, my money, my energy, and my sweat than helping someone like Dr. Kelly Ward, who is an amazing, strong, bold, fresh, conservative woman who's also a military mom, and she's a doctor, a practicing physician, and she's just an amazing person. I love her to death. I felt that was the best place I could spend my time, was to join her campaign. So she brought me in as the National Grassroots Campaign Coordinator, and we are reaching out across the nation because I truly believe that to remove a sitting senator or congressman such as John McCain, who is high profile, who is a rhino, as you have referred to him, of course I prefer to call them establishment, people that basically are not standing on our party principles any longer. They've really moved more toward the left and to the center and to the left, and they aren't really strong conservatives any longer, even though they like to tout that during campaign election years. But our goal is to remove him, and I truly believe that it takes a nation of support to accomplish this. So even though many of your listeners are not able to vote for her, and that's what they usually say, well, I'm not from Arizona, so I can't vote for her. That's true. But what you can do is you can become a supporter. You can help us to get her name out. You can share it on the $25 or $2,700 donation, and you can become part of the team in promoting Kelly and getting her name out there and helping her to win against this establishment Republican who has been taking our country downhill and is also affecting our state in a very negative way. So that's who I am, that's what I'm doing, and that's where I stand right now.
Awesome. Lots of good information there. Now, I do want to kind of narrow that down a little bit more because last time we were together, we just kind of did everything through broad strokes. This time, since this is now the second time we've talked, I do want to narrow down a couple of those topics. For folks that are interested in donating their time, how can they help you, and how can they contact you, or what kind of help do you need?
Real easy. All they need to do is go to kellyward.com. And by the way, it's Kelli, not a Y, Ward, WARD.com, kellyward.com, and you'll see on the page it says volunteer, join our team. Just fill that out and tell us what you want to do, if it's make phone calls for us or whatever it is that you feel you can do. So I've had people say, we want to fly out there to get closer to the campaign, and we want to knock on doors, or we want to do sign waving, or whatever they're able to do, because some people have relatives out here and think, hey, it'd be a great time to come out and see my relatives and do a little campaigning for Kelly Ward, because a lot of people across this country are ready for John McCain to go. 33 years sitting in Congress is plenty enough time to either accomplish something or accomplish a lot of things that are not helping us. And John McCain is not helping us any longer. So it's time for him to go, and people across the country are realizing that. So yes, kellyward.com, sign up, volunteer, and tell us what you can do.
Now, in case anyone is interested, are there any particular places where you need help more than others, or are you just still looking for basically help anywhere that you can find it?
Well, if you're listening and you're from Arizona, we obviously need boots on the ground. It takes a strong ground team to win campaigns today. And although so many of us are accustomed to doing so much on the Internet today, it still makes a huge difference to have supporters and volunteers get out and go door to door and talk at their local clubs or organizations or wherever they're at, and provide information, palm cards and donation slips and signs and whatever else you can do to become part of that team to get the word out about Kelly. So we're going to need lots of boots on the ground, but we are going to need people who will join us and make phone calls, and we'll need people to share those emails and those memes and those ads and so forth that they find on the Internet from us. You can also share that with people, and that spreads the word. You can join our Facebook team, which is a Kelly Ward National Grassroots team. It's just a group. Put that in, Kelly Ward National Grassroots team. You can join that, and we've got lots and lots of tweets for you there. We've got lots of memes and so forth, and articles and polls and whatever else you need to share on your particular groups and your page and with friends and emails and so forth. So there's a lot of ways you can contribute and become part of a process to help. And another way is become a precinct committeeman in your precinct and help all conservative candidates in that process.
Now, it's interesting that you bring up the precinct committeeman, because that was actually going to be the next thing that I was going to go to. Because you alluded to that basically being one of the best kept secrets in conservative politics, is just how much power the precinct committeeman actually wind up having, at least if memory serves during our last interview.
That's correct.
Why don't you go ahead and tell folks just a little bit about that again, just in case we've got folks that didn't listen to the first interview?
Well, it makes sense that it's one of the best kept secrets, and it shouldn't be a secret at all. It's a tactic that the left has used for a long time, but the right has kept it a secret. And I think the reason the right has kept it a secret is because there are many that are in power that are not following our constitutional law and who are not standing on our party principles, who don't want the average voter to get involved and become a precinct committeeman, because then they might lose some control. So that part of it makes sense. But let me tell everyone why this is important. First of all, let me express to you that the precinct committeeman slot, which, by the way, it might be called something else in your state, but basically it's the person or persons who are over your specific precinct. So let's say I'm precinct number 35. That's my community and a few other close by surrounding communities. We're on precinct 35. And in my area, based on the number of people that are in that precinct, a number of people our slots are open for precinct committeemen. So I'm one of, let's say, seven precinct committeemen split up and share our precinct. Now, when it's time to get the word out for get out the vote effort or to disseminate different candidates' information and tell people that are Republican voters or Republican and independent voters about your candidates, your conservative candidates, you go by a list that is given to you by your party, your state GOP, and that GOP list is broken down into precincts, and you go out and you'll have a list of every household that has a Republicans in it or Republican and independents in it. You'll go to those doors only. You knock on the door. You tell them who you are. You should probably have some kind of a badge that says, who you're with, the GOP, and that you're a precinct committeeman. And you'll give them information about all of the candidates that you, as a precinct committeeman, being a conservative, believe are the right choices for America, for your state, for your precinct. for your community. And so you share that information, and maybe you're there that day and you're sharing specifically one candidate. For myself, I'd be sharing Kelly Ward. And so I want to give out her palm cards. I want to make sure they know what her website address is. I want to make sure that they know that they can donate to her, they can help her and support her, and that she's the right person for the job. And so I'm there to answer questions, make sure that people are currently, that all the people that are Republican voters in the household, or in our state we have an open primary, so independents as well, are registered to vote, and that their information is up to date so that they can vote, their address and all those things are up to date. The goal is to educate your voter base and to make sure they know the date of the primary, they know the dates of the general election, and we get people out to the polls, or we make sure as it gets closer to the campaign time, let's say you go walk your precinct one more time before the primary election, to make sure that you get a commitment from them that they're going to return their early ballot, or that they're going to make it out to the poll, and make sure they know the date. And I usually ask people, so can I count on you to either return your ballot for the primary election, or to show up and vote at your local voting booth on, whatever date it is. And usually they're going to say yes, or they'll say, oh, when is that again? And I'll write it down for them, because the truth is that people are busy and we have a lot going on, and the average person is not caught up in everyday politics, and they don't know everything that's going on, and they may not be a Fox News junkie like some of us out here. And so, they may not be keying into your show, Rick, and other shows that are helping them to stay abreast of what's going on. So precinct committeeman's job is to make sure that all of your voters, your potential voters, know what's going on, know who all the candidates are, and they don't vote just by what they see on television, because that not all of that is always going to be skewed in the right direction, or it's going to be truthful. So it's a real opportunity, and I think it's the most important position in the GOP to be a precinct committeeman, because you are the one who's connecting with those voters and getting those voters to the polls, and that's where people are elected. And let me say further, before I take a breath and let you say something, is that so much of the time we have people that believe in showing up to the general election. That's, for those who aren't quite sure how it all works, you have a primary first, and then you have a general. The primary is where you have a number of candidates who are running on one party or another. So for us, we may have 3, 4, 5 people running for a slot, for a position in your area, in your state. So multiple of them are running for the same job, basically. And so that's our point, where we have to be able to define from those which person has the ability and that can do the job and that resonates with you, their message and their stance and their platform. And then you vote for that person in the primary. Then that person now goes forward to the general election and faces off with, if there's an independent voter or a candidate, or the Democratic candidate. So the primary is really important. And I hear people say all the time, we always are stuck with the same old people every time I go to vote. And I say, well, do you vote in the primary or the general? I only vote in the general. Well, that's why. Because if conservatives don't get out and vote in or send in their ballots, or their early ballots, and vote in the primary, then who we're stuck with is the same old people that everybody has had in there, like a John McCain forever, and we're not going to get rid of them that way. The only way to get rid of them is to get a much stronger showing at the primary. This is where conservatives have their pick. This is where we have our conservative person that's coming forth and trying to challenge that establishment person. And we have a choice now. And so that's the real important election first. And then now we've got our person, hopefully, that made it through, because a lot of people showed up, conservatives, and not just the typical uninformed voter. They all show up, they vote for that guy, now he or girl, and that person goes through. So let's say Kelly's in the primary. We get a lot of people that show up. They vote for Kelly. Now Kelly beats McCain in the primary. So now she goes forward to the ballot, and now she has to face off with the Democrat. So it's much better for the conservatives, and you won't have to hold your nose like I hear people saying they hate having to do that. So this is why precinct committeemen are so important, and why the primary is really an extremely important part of the process for all of us as voters. And if we want a choice, that's what we have to do, is show up and vote in the primary.
You know, it's interesting that you bring that up because in my state here in Oklahoma, it's almost the reverse. We have more people that show up usually for our primaries than we do our generals because we have like 7 little measly electoral votes. So
your state has done a good job of getting that word out. But did you know that nationally, 50% of the PC or precinct committeeman slots are empty? 50%. That means you have a small number of people who are showing up and voting and making all the decisions without being informed and making the decisions for all of us. So it's really important that we have people who are representing the conservatives getting out there and becoming a PC and going door to door and making those connections. And here's something I found when I went door to door. Now, I as a candidate, but even those who came as volunteers for candidates, people were impressed. It makes a difference to them if someone comes to their door. It makes them feel special. It makes them feel like you care about them and you care about their vote. And you're willing to take the time or send someone there to take the time to give them information. That means a lot to them. And that goes a long way. And so it's really important part of the process. And I know Oklahoma has led the nation in a lot of areas in getting conservative votes through and that sort of thing. I know Arizona, we've been working hard and growing our precinct committeeman base for the last, 5-6 years. And we've done a pretty good job in certain areas. But for example, even with the precinct help that we had here, and I'm not saying we did a phenomenal job, we still needed help. We needed a lot more help than we had. But in my county, Pinal County in Arizona last year, we only had a 13% registered voters vote in the primary election. 13%. That means 13% of the people in an entire county made the decision for everyone in this county. That's what it comes down to. So when people say, well, I don't have a choice, why should I vote? They don't care what I think anyway. Well, look, if you don't vote, then you certainly don't have a choice. You don't have a say at all. And now 13% or 12% or 20% or 30% of the people are making the decisions for you. Become a part of that process so that those percentages can go up of people that are participating, but also so that more people's voices are heard, so that when the primary is over, it's a better result. It's a result that is reflective of the voters who actually took the time to become educated, and they became educated hopefully by precinct committeemen, and they made good, solid, conservative choices. And that's what's really important. So it's a process. It takes time to accomplish all of these things, but I can't tell you folks how important it is to get involved in this process. So if you want a voice, and if your voice is still important to you, and I don't know about you, but, I like to talk. I like my voice to be important. I like what I have to say to have some meaning to someone. I want to inspire people in my lifetime. Then I have to be a part of that process, and I have to do the hard work. So even though I have a lot of jobs, a lot of things I'm doing, I'm a precinct committeeman, but I was voted in as a state committeeman. When you become a state committeeman, then you can go to the yearly meeting and you get to elect. You get to vote on bylaws and changes to the platform, but you also get to elect your party leadership. So when people say to me, the only way to change D.C., that we need to change what's going on in D.C., and I say, well, that's true, but the way you do that is by becoming precinct committeeman, becoming a state committeeman, going to the meetings, and electing the right leadership for your state, because those people have a big say in who goes forward and pushes things out, pushes the candidates out to the D.C. level. So basically it comes down to this. All politics are local. The problem is that the locals have had a feeling that the politics are out of their hands for so long that they're not locally involved anymore, which is exactly what the elite and the top people want, is for you to feel that you have no power. But I'm here to tell you that you have lots of power, and all you have to do is get involved in the process and give as much time that you're able to give, however small or large amount of time you have to give. If you do that, the rewards over time will be greater for our country and for our state, and we will begin to take back this country. And like your show's called Off the Rails, we'll be able to put this country back on track and keep things flowing the way they need to flow, and all of us will win in that process. So that's why a PC is so important. And then if you decide later that you want to become a precinct captain, and that's a higher position, now you're over many of the precinct committeemen, and eventually you can become a delegate, and there's more power within that precinct. You can move up in position, and with each position you have a little bit more power in the process and what's going on, and that's how we change things, by changing the GOP from the inside out. We don't give it up. We don't start another party. We simply change the dynamic of the party from the inside, from the local level up, and that's how we change the direction that our country's in.
You know, it's interesting. A minute ago you had mentioned folks that don't vote. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but one of our hosts here recently burned his voter registration card. He happens to be a libertarian. At this point, he's just so frustrated with everything that he's still involved. He still goes to public speaking events and everything else, but he just feels like his vote really doesn't matter anymore. For all of the folks that are out there that are completely disillusioned like he is, what exactly would you say to them about the fact that they choose on a regular basis not to exercise their right to vote?
Well, when you exercise your right not to vote, you're simply saying that what I have to say doesn't matter, and everybody else knows what's better for our country than I do, or for my state, or for my town, or whatever. You're basically giving away all power that you have. The only thing that we have left that is strictly ours is our voice. It's our voice. And our voice is powerful. And it becomes more powerful when it's collective. When we get more people involved in the process, more of us are coming together, more of us are standing together, more of us are becoming educated and showing up and voting in numbers, instead of letting it go to the 13% who make the decision, or in the general election, 27% or 35% of the people who are making all the decisions for all of us, and elect another John McCain or the same John McCain in there. We don't want that to be the result. We want to have strong constitutional conservatives who are willing to stand on our rule of law, because we are a nation of laws, and that's who Kelly Ward is. And so I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure my voice is heard, to make sure that other people's voices are heard, so that we can elect someone like her. So we don't walk away after John McCain is elected again, saying because we didn't do anything, because we burned our cards and said, I'm not going to vote because it doesn't matter, and John McCain is elected again and again and again. The truth is, it matters if we get out there and we get excited about it. Look, I've been involved in politics practically nonstop, day and night, for the last 7 years, just solid. And I've traveled all over, and I've given a lot. I've really sacrificed a lot. I've lost some friends and some family members in that process because people don't like my stance. They don't want to hear about it. Some people don't want to hear about it. But the truth is, I've gained so many friends across this nation and people that stand with me, and I know they've got my back, and I've got their back, and I've grown a base of friends that I never would have had before had I not been willing to step out from my circle, my bubble, that I live in, and get off my couch and do something. And so it's an incredible feeling when you begin to band together with like-minded people. You show up and you grow your numbers of people that are showing up and voting and making a difference. There are campaigns, there are elections that have been won by 1 or 2 votes. That close. And so it's really important. When you say your voice doesn't matter, your voice matters more than you can ever imagine. 1 vote can change the entire outcome of an election. 1 vote. The winning vote is the change, and that might be yours. So don't allow this media circus and this feeling of desperation and the negativity of the news and what's going on every day to silence you, because that is exactly what these people out here want, who are in powerful positions, who want to continue to control you and to control your future and your children and your state and your finances and your taxes and everything. They want you to become robotic and just do what you're told. And I don't know about you, but that's not my idea of a republic and what we're about. So if I want to make my founding fathers proud, then I need to have a voice and not be like the people of England, who our founding fathers fled, who lived under a dictatorship, who everything was decided for them. That's what we came from. That's not who we are. Who we are is a nation of people, we the people, who still have an ability and a right to have a voice and to decide who we want to vote for. That doesn't mean that there isn't voter fraud. There is, and many people have been prosecuted and have gone to prison for it. But that's why we need more people to come out and show up and watch polls and make sure that these things are not going on. We need lots of people as part of the process. And when I ran for office, I can tell you, I know what Kelly Ward's going through, because it's hard sometimes. Lots of people say they'll vote for you and support you, but they don't want to show up and do the work. Now, I can tell you we're putting together a good team, but it's sometimes difficult to cover an entire state, to cover all of your precincts, and to get out to the events and do what needs to be done. So even if you can show up and work a couple of hours at a booth for us, or you can go out and walk one morning a week, as it gets closer to campaign time, and spend 2 hours, those 2 hours are another way you have a voice, because you're educating people, you're putting information in their hands, and you're saying, hey, this is a really good, strong candidate, and you have alternatives. You have a choice. Don't believe that John McCain or, Lindsey Graham or, any of these establishment types are your only choice. That is not true, but that is what they want you to believe. So, folks, I implore you, do not allow the left to continue and the establishment, those moderate people, to continue to control you by making you believe that you don't have a voice, because in America, we all still have a voice. Let's make sure we don't lose that voice.
All right, folks, we are on with Darla Dawald and Jared Day. They are the Grassroots campaign directors for Dr. Kelly Ward, who is running a primary against John McCain. We're going to have to take a really quick break, but when we get back, I want to change gears and kind of talk a little bit more about the Ward campaign itself. We'll be back after we pay some bills, folks. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson.
A show that will change internet radio as you know it.
Okay, so let's talk about the story, which I think is hilarious. I'm just going to refer to it as the poop plane, because, what else are you going to call it? But there was this plane, okay? It took off. It's the British Airways. They were going to Dubai. I have a hard time pronouncing that one.
It was British Airways? It wasn't Jet. It wasn't Jet Poo?
It wasn't.
Couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
I like it. This story, if we've ever had a story that is up our alley, it's this one. It's bathroom humor up from front to back of the airplane, apparently. They had to turn around to go back to Heathrow because they said the smelly poo in the toilet became unbearable for passengers, and it was so bad. They decided it's so bad that they had to turn around and go back rather than continue their flight. They decided that there wasn't enough Febreze, there wasn't enough anything to handle this.
Maybe they should see a doctor. Is there a GoFundMe for this guy?
It must be a woman, because a woman's going to be mortified and embarrassed. If this is a guy, you know that he's out there on Twitter and everything else saying, dude, I took down an airplane with how bad that I laid it down.
There was an old woman who flew on jet poo. She ate so many burritos she didn't know what to do.
So we turned the plane around because they made a big stink. We've just made it into a haiku at the end, but there had to be something.
Real Serious Nonsense, Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, now on K98 Talk.
Our military service members volunteer to protect us in the most dangerous places around the world. They step up, And when they are severely ill or injured, returning to their families is only the beginning of their long road home. Beyond all the hospitals and doctors and surgeries they need just to survive, they also deserve whatever they need to truly live. All the in-home care and day-to-day help they need to live independently, on their own terms. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs were established to provide these brave men and women whatever they need to continue their fight for independence, at no cost, for life. So many of them need us, and it's time for a grateful nation to step up. Find out how you can do your part at findwwp.org.
Are you conservative in a world of liberal?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're not alone. Hey, I'm Daniel Stafford, host of the Stafford Voice, and I'd like to invite you to tune in each Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern, where I'll break down the events of the week, and together we'll learn about how they affect you. So, sit back and get ready for the good, the bad, and the ugly of talk radio right here on K98 Talk.
Hey folks, Slickery Trigger here. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Rebel Road Tactical. As a defensive pistol instructor, I've had the opportunity to observe many different holster designs and configurations. And one thing is clear. Many of my students won't carry a pistol. Or worse, they'll carry one without a holster at all. Holster designers aren't making holsters for normal people. It seems that most holsters are either an expensive piece of gear designed for Rambo or a piece that doesn't fit or function the way real people need it to fit and function. So, like any good Texan, I decided to learn to form kydex and design one myself, one that would fit the needs of average people. The result is the Rebel Road Tactical CRT Modular. The CRT stands for Carry, Range, and Training. Its thin and lightweight curved design minimizes printing and is adjustable to fit just right for superior comfort and function. Check us out after the show at rebelroadconcealed.blogspot.com.
All right, folks, we're back. We're live. This is America Off the Rails. And actually, we were talking during the break, and Jared had a little bit to add to the previous conversation that we never got a chance to get to. So, Jared, take it away, brother.
Yeah, well, Darla was saying how she wants to inspire people and getting out the vote, informing people going door to door, and then also just people like myself that, you know, I worked on a campaign, volunteering on a campaign in 2014, getting my feet wet, and I do more on the media side, and I really liked being involved in the campaign, and when we won, it was a great feeling. So I didn't know how to do more. Nobody really approached me until, it's funny, after the last time we were on, when Darla was talking about PCs, that evening I got an email from somebody asking me if I was a PC. And it was a person that has a website dedicated to precinct committeemen and informing people and saying how important it is that we need to get conservatives taking those slots. So between what Darla, the information she gave out, and then getting that email, I thought, you know, I got to do this. There's no reason why I shouldn't be doing this. And I kind of felt like I should have been doing it all along. So I'm in the process of becoming a PC myself. And so what Darla was saying is true. Whoever is listening now or to the podcast or whenever, these people pick up on stuff, and you never know when someone's going to hear something and something's going to click. And those are changes, and that's grassroots, because that person is going to run with whatever information they got, and they're going to start making a difference too. It just grows. So I just wanted to add that to the last segment.
Well, it's great to hear that you're getting involved, man. That's awesome.
I was just going to say the person that contacted him is also someone who I've been working with, and we've both been working hard to get that word out on precinct committee. And since about March of 2009, he used to be a member on my website, the website that I worked with, and we've both done a lot. But he lives in Arizona and has done a lot of work here in Arizona for that effort, but also nationally. So, it's a message that doesn't get old. You can't just give it out once and say that's it, because this is ongoing. And like Jared said, he's a person who, he may have heard of it before, but just didn't resonate with him at the time, but now it does. And so you just don't know where people are at in the process, or where they're at in their lives, that they're to a point where they realize, well, I'm fed up enough now that I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Or if they're just to the point of, hey, I share a few memes and a few emails here and there. So we just have to keep making sure that we have more and more people talking about it, so that the average voter and person who's conservative out there finds out what's going on and how they can be more part of the process. So I appreciate the opportunity that you've given us to educate those people who are ready to hear that message.
My pleasure. We are down to about 12 minutes at this point. I'd like to change gears for the last little bit we have left. Maybe ask you guys a couple of questions to get your personal perspectives, because I know you guys are all about the Kelly Ward campaign. Jared, we'll probably start with you because you haven't really gotten a chance to say too much today. In your opinion, what sets Dr. Ward apart from John McCain, aside from, of course, the obvious answer? What's something specific that stands out to you?
Well, Kelly is a leader. I've met her, and she's been a state senator for about almost 4 years, and she has said she's going to do things in the beginning, and at this point she's followed through. You can look at her voting record, and she's proven that she's a bold, fearless leader, and we need that. And she's going to get things done. She's going to represent us, and not the way McCain represents himself and his working for wherever his money comes from. She shuns lobbyists, and she will not be influenced by them. So I guess she's a leader. That's the main thing. McCain is not a leader, and he's not working for us. She will.
Good to know. Darla, is there anything specific that you've learned about Dr. Ward along the way that's kind of made you realize that? I mean, you mentioned this now twice. At this point, you've basically suspended your own campaign to start working for her.
Correct.
So there has to be something that she did that just completely grabbed your attention.
Well, one is when it's time for an election or a campaign, you have to look at all of the people that are out there and say, okay, who really has the best chance of taking on an establishment person like McCain, and who has a chance to really make a difference and has a real good possibility of beating that person. And up until now, I haven't really felt like anyone had that ability until Kelly came along, Dr. Ward. I sat with her at a restaurant a couple of years ago, and we were talking about Arizona politics. And we got to talking about John McCain, and she just dropped a little, comment out there that, because I was like, well, what are we going to do about McCain? And she was like, well, I don't know, maybe when it gets closer to that time, I might just be the person to challenge him. And I just sort of had a little excitement in my spirit, so to speak, that I thought, wow, that would be so great. She's someone who could do it. And I already knew, because some of the groups and people in her area, like Havasu area, just love her to death. That says a lot when your constituents really care for you and love you and think that you're the greatest thing. That means a lot. I haven't come across any people like that here who just love John McCain. So that speaks volumes. But as far as specific things, legislation-wise and so forth, John McCain wants to talk about how he's pro-life and he cares about this whole situation that happened with Planned Parenthood and the piecemealing of aborted babies being sold off and so forth, which it's beyond my comprehension that this has even happening. And much less the fact that John McCain would be a person who signed off on that legislation that allowed this to happen. So I'm here as a conservative who's a pro-life person. And granted, I understand that the law is that abortions are allowed, but at the same time, I would not expect someone who considers themselves or tells their voters that they are a conservative to be a voice and provide a pathway for any type of legislation that would allow what Planned Parenthood has been doing. So that was a big problem for me. And Dr. Ward, as a physician first, as a physician, her oath is to first do no harm. So she cares about people at a much different level than someone who's not a physician does. She understands the value of life, and she understands the value of when life begins and when life ends. She understands all of that. As a mother, she understands the value of families and what families mean and how important the family unit is, and how we can't continue to allow the family unit to be to go by the wayside and to forget how important the unity of the family is. And that's something, we have a major breakdown in families today. And she's a military mom, so she understands why our vets are important. Her husband is in the service and is also a physician. And so when she talks about caring about the vets, absolutely she cares about the vets. When she talks about wounded vets, she's a doctor. Absolutely she cares about the wounded vets. When she talks about the VA needing more assistance and we've got to change what's going on with the VA centers across the country, she's speaking from that as a military wife and as a physician. She knows that there's an issue there. Whereas John McCain wants to take pictures with vets and talk about how he supports vets, but yet his legislation has been to cut the veterans' benefits. And his legislation has been to write a letter to the VA. Oh, wow. So you wrote a letter to the VA system about our problem with the worst VA center in the entire United States in Phoenix, Arizona, where veterans' names are not even on the wait list, don't even show up, where their records have been shredded, where the wait list is doesn't even look like it's that long because people are lying and cheating on this. This is not – he's had 33 years to make these changes. He's had 33 years to have the danged fence built, but he's not done it. You know, he's blaming the House of Representatives for his Gang of Eight legislation, which was to build the fence and to bring stricter guidelines in and enforcement at the border, and also surveillance equipment and so forth. And so he's saying, well, you know, I did what I said I was going to do. I put forth the legislation, but the House of Representatives didn't vote it in. Well, that might be true that they didn't vote it in, but let's talk about why they didn't vote it in. They did not vote for it because you had a pathway for 12 to 15 million illegals to have amnesty. So Kelly Ward is bold, she's fresh, she understands the issues they're facing in Arizona. She's a woman of her word. Everything she says that she stands for and she believes in, I've seen her displaying and living out in her own life. She does not waver on what she believes in. She's unapologetically unafraid. She does not allow lobbyists to push her around. She lets them know right up front who she is, what she stands for, and tells them there's not going to be any backroom deals. Everything is transparent. And she listens to her constituents. She makes room for her constituents to have their concerns heard, even if she doesn't agree with everything that they believe in or say. She provides them a pathway and an opportunity for them to be heard on the issues that are important to them. So that's the kind of person I want leading me. As Jared said, she's a great leader. That's the kind of leader I want, not the alternative, John McCain, who has done nothing but break his promises. He's negotiated with Syrians and ISIS leaders and terrorists, and then he complains about Obama making it easy for the Syrians to do what they're doing over there because of the Russians, and yet he was the one that was over there meeting with ISIS and with terrorists. So, you know, you can tell us these things all day long, but the truth of the matter is he's not what he says he is, and Kelly Ward is who she says she is. And that's what I want. I want someone truthful. I want someone real. And Dr. Kelly Ward cares, and she is real, and she has stood by those things that she said she would do, or at her best ability attempted to push through those types of legislation. Believe me, there's more than one person in there, so they always have to be part of the process. But I want someone who's going to stand against the others trying to, take them over and railroad them into their legislation when that's not what that person believes in. And some people are very gullible, but Kelly Ward is not. So my hope is that people will vote for Kelly Ward, get out in your primary election, learn more about her before that time comes, and get on the Kelly Ward campaign team and help us to change things, because we do have to reach across state lines. When you don't have a senator in the mix that year, then reach across state lines and help other states who do, and let's work to get rid of these establishment people, retire them, put them out of office, and put the right people in there. And I believe Kelly Ward is that person.
Wow, very well said. Something I'd like to back up to. You had mentioned that abortion is the law of the land. You know, there's a very specific part of that law that nobody talks about, because, yes, Roe v. Wade is the law of the land, but it had very specific language. Abortion was supposed to be safe, legal, and rare. We seem to have forgotten all about that last part.
Yeah, 77 million
part,
isn't rare.
All right, so we are down to a couple of minutes. Darla, why don't you go ahead and again remind folks of where they can find out more about the Dr. Kelly Ward campaign and how they can donate their time, money, and so forth.
Well, one way everyone can help Kelly Ward is by making monetary donations. And granted, we know that people are in difficult times today, and it's not always easy to donate to all the places that ask. But I'm telling you, this is a worthy cause, because John McCain's policies are affecting our entire nation. So my plea to you is please go to kellyward.com. That's KELLIWARD.com. On the right-hand side at the front of the main page, you'll see donate. Click donate, and please make a donation, whatever size you're able to make. If it's $5, if it's $10, if it's $25, if it's $200, $500, or $2,700, which is the max. Or if you're able to make regular donations over time that will lead up to a higher amount, that's fine too. We have a while yet, but we need every dollar we can get to take on the McCain machine. And so donate. If it's small, donate often. If it's large, thank you so very much. We appreciate your support. Please help us. Go to kellyward.com, sign up to become a volunteer, learn more about our candidate, learn more about how you can stay involved, and also sign up to get email updates, because no matter where you live, it's important to know what's going on with the campaign, what McCain is doing and others are doing, and we'll do our best to keep you informed. So please join us, become part of this team, because in America, all of our voices matter, and all of our candidates are important to the whole big picture. And so we need your help at kellyward.com. And I thank you so much for allowing us to come on today and to talk more about Kelly Ward's campaign. So thank you so much, Rick.
No problem at all. It's been my pleasure. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this particular episode of America Off the Rails. Now, up next, you'll hear a replay of the Liz Harrison Show, and then beginning at 8 Central, 9 Eastern, I think. Yeah, maybe. You'll have Real Serious Nonsense with Angie and Pohl, and then 9 Central, 10 Eastern, you'll have the Stafford Voice with Daniel Stafford. I may or may not be live with you tomorrow night, folks. My niece has a football game, so I may be going to hang out and watch that instead, depending on if I can get off work in time. All right, so if I see you tomorrow, it'll be because I didn't get off work in time to make it to the football game. It's been my pleasure tonight, guys. Thanks for coming on again. And if Dr. Ward would like to come on at any point in time, I would be more than willing to have her on as well.
We'll do it.
All right. Take care, guys. Up next, the replay, as promised, and then hang out for the rest of the night.
Everything you earn by breaking your backs, we're gonna redistribute when we make our big tax. Hey, sit down. Oh, don't.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.